Good morning and welcome to another lesson of community engagement, solidarity, and citizenship. So, going to talk about community action core values, and we will start with human rights and social justice. Now, here there are only two subtopics. As I said, human rights and social justice. So, in this lesson, we are going to define the concept of human rights and social justice, going to explain how human rights are practiced in the Philippines, and discuss social justice according to the Constitution. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Human rights, actually, it has come a long way before we, citizens of the different states, gained or were being recognized as having rights. There was a time in human history when the concept of human rights was not given importance. Individuals were recognized by their own group, but outside the group, they were subject to the abuses and attacks by those who did not recognize their status and roles. Now, if you're going to talk about history, so there was a time when monarchs and kings ruled the states. And at that time, power was centralized, and the privileges of the people, such as having their rights protected by laws, were limited to a select few. And normally it's the elite or the family, the royal family. There were rights already, but these were mostly reserved to those who were close to the ruler. And then, fast forward, here comes a rebellion in England in 1215, which resulted to the signing of a document now called the Magna Carta, or the Great Charter, which specified laws, rights, and policies that was aimed at balancing the power of the king and protecting citizens from abuses. Now, 400 years later, the English Bill of Rights was enacted. That was in 1689. This document changed the way power was shared between the church and the state, and it promoted freedoms and elections. And then, as you know it, there came wars. World War One. So, as a result of World War One, there was this League of Nations. That was the first attempt in creating an international association that provided a forum for resolving international disputes and served as the platform of diplomatic exchanges among nations. Then, afterwards, there was World War II, which established the United Nations. It promotes human rights, aid in social and economic development, and provides basic humanitarian aid and environmental protection. The United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which created 30 articles that aimed at restoring dignity and respect for human lives. Now, actually, you can read these 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on pages 144 to 149 of your textbook. Anyway, the first core value, human rights. Now, these are defined as the civil and political rights of a person, and this embrace the moral standards of any member of a community. Now, even in our country, in the Philippines, the principles of human rights are enshrined in the Philippine Constitution. These were adopted from the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was a response to the extreme violations experienced by the people during the Second World War. Now, anyway, in our Constitution, it is found in Article 3, that is what we call Bill of Rights. So it is a declaration and enumeration of a person's basic rights and privileges, which the Constitution is designed to protect against violations by the government or by an individual or group of individuals. These are defined as the civil and political rights of a person and embrace the moral standards. Okay, anyway, so the Bill of Rights, you can find that in the PDF format. It's also here, just I posted it together with this video, so please have your time to read or go through the PDF. Okay, so there are 22 sections there. Now, in case you will have difficulty or there are some areas wherein you might find it difficult to understand, so I here some important concepts and terms in the Bill of Rights. So as you go along, when you read the Bill of Rights, you can find these terms. And in case you want to understand more, so here are the specific explanation. So in section 1, you can find their due process of law. So there is explanation already. So due process of law. So for example, there should be fair and reasonable methods. So you should not be put to jail right away without trial. That is basically the meaning of due process of law. And then in section 2, you have search warrant. So in this case, this is an order in which the police officers or anybody uh, can have this right to search in your property. Maybe you've watched some movies wherein some police officers go to the suspect's house to find something, and then they bring with them that piece of paper. That is what we call the search warrant. Okay. On the other hand, in section 2 also there is warrant of arrest. So it is a written order given if the command is to arrest a person designated, that is to take him into custody in order that he may be bound to answer for the commission of an offense. So if you are a suspect in a certain crime, for example, then police officers might approach you and then bring this warrant of arrest and tell you, you're under arrest, so please come with us to the police station, and then there will be investigation. And you've heard that they would say, you have the right to remain silent, blah blah blah, because every word you use will be used against you. Okay, anyway, that's warrant of arrest. Now, in section 3 of the Bill of Rights, you can find this phrase, right of privacy. So it is defined as the right to be left alone. It's like the government has no right to intervene or interfere into your personal businesses unless there are grounds. So, for example, if the state found that you're hiding something, then probably they will look into, okay, some of your things or your transactions, even the places you went to, just like that. But in a normal case, they don't have the right. Okay, it's like they mind their own business only. In section 4, there is freedom of expression. I guess you're so familiar with this. The right to freely utter and publish whatever one pleases without previous restraint and subsequent punishment or sanction. However, you have to be careful because there is also accountability for this. Because, yeah, you have freedom of expression, you try to express your thoughts, but how about if these are libelous already? So they can file a case against you that is libel, for example. In section 5, there is religious freedom. So it is our right to worship God and to entertain such religious views as appeal to our individual conscience without dictation or interference by any person or power. That means we should not be forced to join or subscribe to any religion. Okay, it is our right to choose and to believe. Next, we have liberty of abode and travel. That is in section 6. We have been practicing this. We're not limited to staying in the Philippines only. In fact, we're here in Qatar. It's actually in the Constitution that we can live wherever we want to, and we can go back anytime to our country. In section 7, we have access to official records for exercise of right. Oh, it is our right to know what's going on in the government. In our politics and governance subject, we learned that there is a thing called public disclosure. It's like the government should tell the citizens about the transactions or where the money goes. In section 8, we have a right to form associations. It is the freedom to organize or to be a member of any group or association, union, or society, and to adopt the rules which the members judge most appropriate to achieve their purpose. So, in other words, we can form groups. We're not being stopped, okay, from forming any association. So we have unions, we have trade unions, we have cooperatives, and any group that we can form as long as it is approved. Okay, obligation of a contract. It is the law or duty which binds the parties to perform their agreement according to its terms or intent. If it is not contrary to law, morals, good customs, public order, or public policy. So an example is in applying for a job. So on your first day of work, you need to sign the contract, and the contract outlines your benefits and your job responsibilities. Okay, so you can form, and that is in accordance with the law, and all stipulations in the contract should be followed. Otherwise, you can file a complaint to the Department of Labor. the writ of habeas corpus. So this is an order issued by a court of competent jurisdiction directed to the person detaining another, commanding him to produce the body of the prisoner at the designated time and place, and to show sufficient cause for holding in custody the individual so detained. Okay, so for example, if um, you're a police officer and then you detain someone like a suspect, you're holding someone in your house, for example, for a week or for 2 weeks now. Okay, so that could be a violation if you could not answer to the judge why you're doing such act, because that's a violation of the writ of habeas corpus. It says in 15, it shall not, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended except in cases of invasion or rebellion when the public safety requires it. See? So if our safety is not at risk and then we are detained by someone, now that person is accountable for his doing. He should answer the court why he's detaining you. Otherwise, you can file a complaint. Now we have reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment. So that's the meaning because it's in section 19. And then poll tax, that means cedula or community tax. Now, right against double jeopardy. So this means you can't be charged with the same offense twice. Okay. And then ex post facto law. Okay, I'll just want to read section 22. It says, no ex post facto law or bill of attainder shall be enacted. These two, numbers 15 and 16, should not be enacted because for number 15, it makes an act done before the passage of a law innocent when done, criminal, and punishes such act. In other words, for example, you were being convicted of murder, and then originally in the Constitution, the penalty is 20 years imprisonment. Now, after that, after you were convicted, some senators, for example, enacted a law which says the penalty for murder is raised to 45 years. That could not be because that is an example of an ex post facto law. It's like this should not be enacted after the act is committed because it would be unfair for you. Okay, because you committed that particular crime, for example, prior to the enactment of the law, which means you should not be covered with that. And anyway, the Constitution says it should not happen. Okay, and then number 16, bill of attainder, that's in section 22 also. This means you can be punished without judicial trial, which is so unfair. That's why in section 22 it says no bill of attainder shall be enacted because it's unfair. Remember in section 1 it says due process of law. See? So there should be judicial trial before inflicting punishment. If there is punishment first without judicial trial, then that is a violation of this section. Okay? I hope that is pretty clear. Now, in the Philippines, there are government agencies that deal with human rights issues. For example, the Department of Justice, which is the principal law agency of the Philippines, and it investigates crimes and prosecutes offenders through NBI. It also serves as legal representative of the government of the Philippines, and it provides free legal assistance or representation to indigents. It promotes, develops, and expands the resolution of the disagreements between people, and it performs other functions like witness protection, anti-human trafficking, assisting rape victims, etc. Wow, so that's the power of the Department of Justice. Another agency is Commission on Human Rights. It is an independent office provided for in the Philippine Constitution to investigate all forms of human rights violations involving civil and political rights of the Philippines. You remember Duterte's EJK, right? So the Commission on Human Rights intervene in that. Then the third one is Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE. It aims to protect and promote the welfare of Filipino workers, both in the country and abroad. That's why if you are an OFW and you have complained about your employer or some stipulations of your contract are not followed, you can actually send a message to DOLE or what you call that, POEA. Yeah, they will actually help you out with that. Okay. The second core value is social justice. Now, social justice is a concept of fair and just relations between the individual and society as measured by the distribution of wealth, opportunities for personal activity, and social privileges. Now, Section 2 of Article 13 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution stated that the promotion of social justice shall include the commitment to create economic opportunities based on freedom of initiative and self reliance. So, even the promotion of social justice is in our Constitution. And I emphasize 2 points here. These are the values emphasized in Section 2 of Article 13. The first one is freedom of initiative. When you say initiative, it is the ability of a person to assess and do things independently. For example, as a youth, for example, you are a responsible youth who witnesses a specific concern in your community, you may begin thinking of ways to do appropriate actions to solve the concern instead of waiting for other people's response to the concern. You can start, you can make change. Doesn't mean like you're just senior high school student, you can't do anything. Okay, we have what we call freedom of initiative. So with this freedom of initiative, you will be inspired to serve as better citizens of the country. Um, okay. The second one is self-reliance. When you say self-reliance, it is an individual's ability to do things and make decisions independently, having the confidence in exercising one's judgment. Now, being self reliant may seem challenging since your decision is crucial when innovations in a certain community are introduced. Yet, through this value, you can be trained to become a leader, taking into consideration that your judgment should be carefully analyzed and reflected to assure that plans will be implemented appropriately. Okay. Now, social justice and community action, since our subject is all about community, it entails consideration of the diverse characteristics and backgrounds of community members to ensure that their needs are identified. Now, planning and decision making should be democratic, and members of the community and concerned groups should be consulted to come up with the best program that would benefit the entire community. That is, if we follow social justice. So, following social justice, all members of the community should be accommodated, which means no one should be excluded from benefiting from the community plan based on their socioeconomic status, gender, age, educational attainment, etc. Actually, it's happening right now because of COVID-19. I heard from one of the localities in our province, like they identified the families who can receive this assistance from the government. And so my classmate, he was not actually complaining. My classmate in college who lives in the same community said like, oh, they were given 8,000 pesos. And their family did not receive any because when they asked, they were like middle class. I don't know exactly if it's really a violation of the social justice or what. Okay, so there should also be full involvement of community members in implementing the community plan. Okay, now that is wow, quite long, 18 minutes. But anyway, I hope you have uh, the motivation to finish listening to my voice. Have a great day, everyone, and don't forget to read Bill of Rights.